Hey guys, it's Miss Jacobson. Today we are going to be going back over text structures. Now it's been a while since we've talked about text structures. The last time we did this was second 6 weeks. So make sure you're paying attention because A, this is going to be a focus of some of the stuff we're doing this 6 weeks, and B, it's going to be on your STAR test coming up here pretty soon. Text structures are the patterns that an author uses to organize information in a nonfiction text. So how do they arrange their information? What pattern do they use to arrange that information so that we can better understand it? There are 5 most common types of text structures. They include cause and effect, problem solution, compare and contrast, description, and order sequence. So we're going to take a look at each of those real fast just so you can see what they look like. Cause and effect is a text structure that shows us this is why something happened, this is what happened as a result. Cause and effect shows us the relationship between a cause and effect. Here's what happened, here was the result. So an example of a cause and effect passage. Farmers in California are struggling this year with a low crop yield, and there's less to harvest than in previous years. A drought or lack of rainfall has resulted in lower crop outputs, so there are fewer fruits and vegetables to harvest. Since there is less to harvest, fewer workers are hired to pick the fruits and vegetables, package them, and transport them to stores. The lack of work can lead to unemployment. When people are unemployed, they are less likely to buy things, which can lead to further unemployment in manufacturing and retail stores. So if we look at that passage, we have to decide, okay, what caused the event? What is the event? What are the effects of those events? Well, our first cause is there's a drought, there's a lack of rain. The drought and the lack of rain means that there's less crop output, there are fewer plants growing. All of that leads to there being less to harvest this year. What are our causes? Lack of rain, fewer plants. That means there's less to harvest. What happens because there's less to harvest? What's the effect of there being less to harvest? Well, there are fewer workers hired, and that means unemployment is higher. Our second text structure is problem solution. Problem solution text structures start by introducing a problem that needs to be fixed and then introducing a possible solution. So here's an example of a problem solution text structure. Maybe you know the feeling. You wake up with a start and you realize you've overslept. You're late for school, late for practice, or just plain late. There are many ways to address oversleeping that can help you start the day without stress. Sometimes people oversleep because they forget to turn on their alarms. Use an alarm on your phone or an alarm clock that is always on, rather than one you have to remember to set each night. Sure, it might be annoying when it goes off on Saturday morning, but it's better than getting to school late the rest of the week. If your alarm is going off but not waking you up, change the sound it makes. If you use the same sound on your alarm for a long time, you'll get accustomed to it and it won't wake you up. Finally, if you've changed the sound, set your alarm, and are still sleeping through it, consider why you're too tired to wake up in the morning. Try going to bed a bit earlier and avoid looking at screens at bedtime, which is known to interfere with sleep. Okay, so looking at this passage, what is the problem? Oversleeping is the problem. What are 3 solutions they give you? You can use an alarm that's always on. You can change the sound that your alarm makes, and you can try going to bed earlier. They start with the problem, and then they give you 3 solutions to that problem. Our next text structure is compare and contrast. Compare and contrast tells you how 2 things are the same, which is comparing, or different, which is contrasting. Here's an example of a passage. Both presidents and prime ministers are government leaders. The president is elected by citizens of the country and is not part of the nation's legislature. The Prime Minister, on the other hand, is elected by and is the leader of the country's legislature. In some countries, such as France, the people elect a president, and the president appoints a prime minister to manage the legislature. Both prime ministers and presidents have the power to appoint civil servants, such as the leaders who manage the country's military and treasury. Okay, that was a lot of gobbledygook, I'm sure, a lot of social studies terms. But if we really look at the passage, we can make it make sense. They are comparing presidents, which is what America has, to prime ministers, which is what countries like the UK have. And they're telling us how a president and a prime minister are the same or different. So if we were going to put this in a Venn diagram, How are they the same or different? Well, they're the same because they're both government leaders, and they can both appoint civil servants. So they can appoint people to certain jobs in the government. But there's a lot of differences between them too. Prime ministers are elected by the government. Presidents are elected by the citizens. Presidents are not part of the legislature. That means they can't make laws. There's a different part of the government that makes laws. Prime ministers are part of the legislature, so they're responsible for making laws. Again, they are comparing and contrasting these two government positions. Our next text structure is the descriptive text structure. Descriptive texts tell about a specific topic by describing it with specific details. This is the easiest text structure to spot. So our example passage says, produced from 1999 to 2005. Okay, that's a detail that tells us when it was made. The Ferrari 360 was a sports car constructed entirely of aluminum. So sports car, what is it made out of? It's made out of aluminum. The body of the car was unique and featured smooth curves rather than the sharp angles of prior models of Ferraris. Okay, so what do we know about it? It's uniquely made. It's got curves rather than angles. Two-seater car was about 14.5 feet long and could reach a top speed of 185 miles per hour. It's a two-seater. That's how long it is. Top speed is 185 miles an hour. The entire thing is just adding specific details that describe what this car was like. Our last text structure is order or sequence or chronological. You'll hear it called all three things. Order, sequence, or chronological text list events in the order that they happened, or in the steps that you have to take to make them happen. So here's our example passage. Writing an essay can seem like a big challenge. It doesn't have to be. Most people learn the writing process when they're in middle school. The writing process can make essay writing much easier. Begin by choosing a topic and brainstorming ideas related to that topic. Once the topic is determined, create an outline to identify all of the main points you'd like to make in the essay. Do research to find information on the topic in order to fill out the outline. Once the outline is complete, write a draft of the essay. Use a peer review process or ask a friend to review your work. After receiving feedback, review the draft and mark edits and ideas for revision. Finally, write the final draft of the essay and turn it in. Okay, so they are telling you step by step, this is how you use the writing process to write an essay. If I put this into a flow chart, I could literally put each part into an arrow and we could see exactly what order these things are supposed to happen in because they tell us in the essay in order how to do this process. So those are our 5 text structures. Make sure you watch the next video that's in Canvas because I'm going to give you some help with our assignment for today because it's not just as simple as identifying the text structures. But I wanted to go over what they were with you first.